Welcome back, everybody. Broadcasting to you from a freezing Johannesburg. We're in Sandton this morning, out of the studio, and sitting in a room full of various done exceptional things in the field of sciences. We're hearing some fascinating stories of adventures around the world and perceptions when it comes to, firstly, scientists that come from the African continent surely don't know what a microscope looks like. Meantime, I think our equipment is probably better, as we heard, than some other countries in the world. And secondly, where women are doing so exceptionally well in these fields, where it really is a male-dominated field, but it seems that the ladies are bashing through. Now, what we're doing is changing our guests as we go along. So we've got a lot of our winners with us here in the room this morning. So let me introduce you to our next set of guests. Of course, the minister remaining with us the whole time. We've got with us Dorcas Lekanyane, who is a DST Fellowship Master's degree, and you got that particular award, so congratulations and welcome to the show. Also with us is Professor Alta Schutter, who is the winner of the Distinguished Women Researchers category as well. Good to have you with us, and well done for last night.
Thanks.
And then, of course, with us as well, we've got Professor Mavhandu-Mudzusi, who is the winner as well in the Distinguished Women category. Well done. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, let's start with our fellowship winner first. So you got a cash injection last night with winning your award, which obviously is going to be put towards furthering your studies.
Yes,
Talk to us about what you're doing. What are you studying?
All right, so I'm basically specializing in DNA barcoding, which is a fairly new science. And I'm from the African Center for DNA Barcoding, which is a center based in the University of Johannesburg. And what most people don't know is that it's actually the only center in Africa that specializes in DNA barcoding. So what I specialize in is traditional medicine. I go out to multi markets and I do surveys on our traditional medicines and see is what is being traded can it be used or applied in the medical world? Yeah. Is it substantial? Is it authentic? Are we trading an endangered species that maybe we can substitute with other alternatives? What's going on? Is it impacting our plant biodiversity in any way or not?
How fascinating. Why? I mean, obviously this has something to do with something that perhaps piqued your interest when you were a lot younger.
Yes, actually. I mean, growing up, you always heard folklore stories about these medicines and what they're capable of. And actually being in an environment where you get to see what people do, it just opens your mind up to like a lot of things, honestly, yeah.
Minister, isn't this what science is all about? I mean, from when we are young, everything around us is science. And it's so lovely to have seen a very curious child taking what she saw growing up and is now researching it, and who knows where you'll land up and your findings will be.
Well, I think what's really incredible, you're so right, Leanne, is that curiosity being brought to bear on indigenous practices, which sometimes we look down on and regard as not being scientific. And the work that she's doing actually is looking at whether we can actually bring traditional medicines in line with science so that people understand them as they understand all pharmaceutical products. So I think it's absolutely important work. And it's great that it's being led by young people in our country.
And I'm so glad that hopefully monetary issues is something that you can sort of not worry about this year, because that's a big worry for a lot of students.
It is quite limiting. I mean, if you're doing research and it's something you're passionate about, it's just great to be recognized on a platform to go, listen, we recognize your work and go forth. So
absolutely. And don't let money worry you.
No.
We've got you covered. Well done. I'm so happy for you. Professor Schutter, also one of our winners from last night. I mean, your work is outstanding. It stood out last night. Just to maybe just fill in the viewers a little bit, Professor of Physiology and the South African Research Chair Initiative in the Early Detection and Prevention of Cardiovascular Disease in South Africa, which is hosted by the Hypertension in Africa Research Team at the Northwest University. Your research, I suppose, talk about it, but I'd rather hear from you. What is your research focusing in on?
I think to start off with, there are so many people in South Africa suffering from high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, heart disease. And the main problem is most people are walking around with a condition without even realizing it. So there's a huge awareness problem. So due to that, we are really focusing on younger people, children, and the early stages of disease development to see what we can do, what we can target to prevent the development of high blood pressure, diabetes, common problems that we face in South Africa now that we are trying to curb HIV infection. This is the new rise that we are facing in the future, and if we can really do something to prevent that early on, we are really trying to use cutting-edge techniques to identify factors that we can do to prevent the development of disease later in life.
I mean, it's phenomenal because it's something that affects every single one of us, raised blood pressure, cardiovascular problems, and that's what you're trying to take a look at, is what actually causes raised blood pressure and how we can prevent it. I mean, obviously traditionally we're told it's what we eat, it's our lifestyles. Is there more to it though, from what you're telling me, the research you're looking into?
There should be more to it. If you think of it, there are earlier reports about 100 years ago from Africa where not a single person had high blood pressure when people from Europe came and measured blood pressure. So it is a disease of the time. It's not only unique to Africa, it's globally a huge problem, but there are more to it than only what we eat and what we drink. It's also in terms of what we do when we are pregnant, how we take care of ourselves when the child is developing, and which will affect disease development in later life. There's a lot of new research on that.
Yeah, interesting, really interesting. So again, another winner with us here this evening, and it's lovely to have someone from the university, well, this is from the Department of Health Studies at the University of South Africa, Professor Mavhandu-Mudzusi. She's a PhD in Public Administration from the University of Venda, the main research objective center on reducing the number of new HIV infections. This is the story that we really want to hear about, improving the quality of life of people living with HIV in rural areas. I mean, this study and the research that you're doing into this is invaluable. And we congratulate you and we thank you for the work that you're putting into this. So I think she deserves a round of applause as well. Talk to us about your studies and your work in this area.
Thank you very much. My main focus of the study is prevention of new HIV infection and improving quality of life, mainly of students living with HIV and AIDS. But in the process, I realized that what we are doing is not enough because the focus was only on heterosexual students. Yeah. And all our campaigns, all our promotional material were focusing on heterosexual students until one day a student came, and when she arrived, I tested him for HIV. Okay, yes, the first one was the male. Then it was HIV, he tested HIV positive, and he just said, that guy in the airport. Then I said, guy in the airport, what happened? He said, being a homosexual at this rural university, it's frustrating. Life is so difficult because we're not being accepted. So we try and have sex wherever we meet a person because here we're stigmatized and discriminated upon. Then I realized that, we're not going to win this battle. Yeah. So I shifted my focus that we need to also include lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex students. And I advocated to ensure that when we do our campaigns, we also focus on them. And also when we are providing promotional material, we don't just give female and male condom. We need to focus on things like dental dam, finger gloves, which I think the government is not even providing. Yeah. Meaning that if we continue at the way we are doing, we are not going to win. All of to join and support lesbian, gay, and transgender students, and also to ensure that it's not only at the institution of higher education, but also the community, because you find that this group of individuals, they also receive pressure from the community and also from their parents. At certain age, they expect them to fall pregnant if they're female, to get married, and some of them end up even getting married just to or get people off their back, but they continue having multiple sexual partners because they will have a partner of choice during the night. During the day, they'll have a partner which is accepted by the community. And this is spreading the HIV.
Absolutely.
So I feel this is the battle which we need to join hands, because in our culture, vendor culture, it's called taboo. When a person is passing and is gender non-conforming, they'll just be clapping hands and say, "Ooh, matura," or taboo. So in such a way that that person just feel like she doesn't belong. And most of them end up not completing their school.
Yeah.
So that's why I felt it was important to support them, even to start support group, and also influence other higher education to ensure that there are people who are coordinating the program to support lesbian, sexual, transgender, and intersex students.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you for this. Unbelievable. Let's take a break here on the program. We're going to have a little bit more for you after this, just until the end of the program. I want to talk about the fact that with all this research that's going on, and particularly on a continent like this, and in the light of what Professor has just said, can the cure for AIDS be found here in Africa? Maybe South Africa. Let's find out. Stay tuned.